Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for none other than my first review, technically second review, of a movie adaptation that was filmed, that took 18 years to film, had several rewrites, went through a big hellish production, and as for none other than 2007's The Simpsons movie. For those of you who don't know, yes, when this movie came out, I was a big Simpsons fan. I started getting introduced to Simpsons around 2005 or early 2006. Immediately fell in love with it, started watching the show throughout the year whenever it turned on the TV. Like SpongeBob and Simpsons were the two cartoon shows I loved growing up. And then I heard they were making this film. I was like, okay, I can't wait to see this, honestly. I remember seeing the trailers everywhere. When this film was getting made, like, constantly seeing all the trailers whenever they would come on. Constantly rewatching all the trailers as a kid. And then when the marketing started, it was a pretty big marketing strategy. Like, Burger King sold all the toys everywhere. I remember having quite a few of them. I used to have Chief Wiggum, I used to have Barney, I used to have Apu. Had quite a few characters. Fortunately, never got like a Homer or anything, kind of wish, but oh well. Not only that, they even had you could photify your own yourself as a Simpsons version of yourself, even on their website. And what's more, a lot of the 7-Elevens changed their names to Quickie Marts in order to promote the film. A number of them did. Temporarily, they were called Quickie Marts. And which was very nice. And then, of course, the Universal Studios got a bit of the rights of The Simpsons and turned it into their own amusement park-like area. There's a ride for The Simpsons. There's now meet and greets for the Simpsons characters. There's even now there's an actual Quickie Mart there. You can even meet and greet Krusty the Clown there now, which is awesome. And there's several restaurants there at Universal Studios based off the show. Like there's a Krusty Burger, there's that pizza one, and then there's that seafood one. I forget the names of those, but I don't remember Krusty Burger really. The show, but anyway. So when the movie came out, when saw in the theaters, absolutely loved it. I think this movie was even supposed to end The Simpsons, but then Fox got greedy and went, no, let's make more episodes. Like, this movie took 18 years to make. 18. Because they went through so many rewrites. Like, Macaroni really wanted it to be a very spectacular way. He wanted the movie to be perfect. And I think the 18 years work really paid off in the end. Because this movie, made over $536 million worldwide at the box office. Became the highest grossing movie based off a TV show. Had a huge opening weekend. And especially, this came out during a time when The Simpsons was facing a major downfall. And this was probably the best of it. It felt like the exact moment. This when The Simpsons used to be a phenomenal show with seasons 1 to 10. It felt exactly like that moment. Every bit of that moment. So what is this film about? Well, in this movie, Homer Simpson finally messes up big time when his misguided attempt to dispose of a pig waste-filled silo after Homer adopts a pig that was about to be killed at Krusty Burger to make more burger meat. Ends up causing Springfield to be encased in a giant glass dome. With the entire town out, now that the entire town does find out that he's the one who caused the pig-wasted silo. Who caused our trapment when as soon as they found the pig-wasted silo, it got broadcasted on the news, and now they're out for his blood, especially considering that Rockman, who was broadcasting the whole discovery, announces, just a reminder, this station does not endorse vigilante justice, unless it gets results, which it will, and that pretty much causes the whole entire town to come out, to go looking for him and murder him, basically. And now it's up to Homer Homer to save his town, redeem himself, and stop this EPA agent named Russ Cargill, voiced by Albert Brooks, who plans to nuke Springfield off the face of Earth so he can create a new Grand Canyon. Now, here's why this film is easily so vulnerable. Yeah, the animation is very outstanding, especially considering an upgrade from the show. Has so many strong colors, painted backgrounds, and mixes 2D animation with 3D animation very well. Brings It brings back the charm of the show's golden age, the first 10 seasons. Since this was technically writing this around the 90s, really, and a huge breath of fresh air during the modern seasons. So many hilarious moments and gags. Incredibly hilarious characters that definitely match the tone of the movie, and the dialogue is top-notch. It's very good for fans of The Simpsons, being finally able to see a movie adaptation after so many years of waiting. Like, so many fans, like, this movie was so popular when I came out. Literally almost the whole world, almost everyone I know saw it in the theaters. Even I saw it in the theaters when I was 8 years old. And Russ Cargill. Russ Cargill easily is probably the best villain in the entire Simpsons franchise. Most violent, despicable, and arguably even more than Mr. Burns or Sideshow Bob. Because as he actually wants to nuke Springfield, which is probably the most evil villain plot of the whole Simpsons franchise. Just to avoid him trapping them in the dome being discovered and his crimes being discovered, he's willing to kill off the whole town, to cover up his like entrapment of them. And let's not forget the pig Homer adopts, Spider Pig or Harry Plopper, is a very interesting and amusing side character. Even though he doesn't really get much screen time, he's still very entertaining. One of the best characters in the film. The plot and story of the movie are very outstanding and faithful to the series, so faithful that it's got the best plot from any TV-based movie ever. I mean, technically, probably second place behind South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which is probably the best adapted one of the series, and very faithful to the original characters. The perfect movie for people who want to see what the show is like. A very hilarious ending, and Green Day's take on the theme song is rocking. And the Green Day in the beginning scene, their cameo is very hilarious. Like, as soon as they finish playing the theme song, it's like, alright, thank y'all for coming. We've been playing for 3.5 hours. Now we'd like a minute of your time to say something about the environment. And then just everyone just stops cheering, they immediately boo them. The townspeople even throwing all that stuff at them in the lake basically dissolves Green Day's barge, and it causes like the barge to go up, and then the Green Day just sinks and they basically die in The Simpsons. Not in real life, just in The Simpsons, guys. But their take on the theme song is very awesome. And the moment where Bart apologizes to Homer when they think they're going to die was a very touching moment too, and it also has a humorous 20th Century Fox logo where Ralph sings along to the TCF music at the very beginning of the film to start off the film. Let's not forget the funniest quote of the movie. Now before we eat, don't forget to thank the Lord for this bountiful penis. Because like since Bart was skateboarding naked and then cop shot at his skateboard wheel, then he tripped off his skateboard, then landed on the window just as like Flanders and his sons were about to eat their lunch at Krusty Burgers. So he covered like the penis with one of the fries to block it, and then yeah. Bad qualities is that the pacing is all that great at times, and the CGI looks impressive, but it can look dated at times for the bad qualities. Like, and there's some false advertising on the Burger King bag. Snowball 5 is shown, but she isn't even seen in the film, really. All of the characters that are in the show were advertised on the bag, and they weren't even seen in the film at all. And some of the jokes aren't really suitable for a PG-13 rated film, like, especially when like Bart kind of flashes his private during the skateboard scene, which makes you wonder if PA would get away with it. Thankfully, it's portrayed very cartoonishly, and censored on American television broadcasts. And then the final bad quality. Homer's still pretty funny, but he's pretty unlikable in this movie. He's kind of a jerk. times he kind of only cares about himself most of the time, and he basically, the minute he gets a donut call from his friend, first thing he stupidly does or selfishly does is go to a lake just to get the job disposing the salad done quicker, just so he can go gorge on the donuts. Guess what he stupidly does? Like, when people were dumping on the lake, they were immediately warned to stop, so they stopped dumping in the lake, they stalled the barrier, and guess what Homer does? Drives through all the no dumping signs, drives through the barrier, cuts ropes, and then just disposes of the salad in the lake, and repolluting it in the process, except making it worse. And basically ends up, and he stupidly just ends up causing their entrapment, doesn't even apologize or even tries to make up for anything. Yeah, basically puts his own family in danger with that mob, because technically I think the reason why that mob wanted to kill his family as well, because I think Homer was basically trying to use him as a shield so he could hide, so basically he just endangered his own family, basically, and refuses, is too scared to even apologize to the mob, even just to avoid getting killed, so. And then, of course, and then when Marge demands to explain why he dumped the salad in the lake and didn't listen to her, he just shrugged and goes, Just kind of funny, but it's actually kind of stupid of him to just try to get out of having to explain it, really. But although he does after, or then the solution is just to go to Alaska and start a new life. But then when it turns out that the new Grand Canyon is getting installed in Springfield, Marge and the rest of the family try to go save Springfield. But then Homer's like, no. Homer's like, I'm happier, screw Springfield and this thing. Even though he's basically the one who put them in that dome in the first place by being complete idiots. I mean, Homer's idiocy is pretty fun, but in this movie it's just really, his idiocy can be very unbearable in this film. Even though it's kind of funny in the rest of the series, and then when he, during that move to Alaska, he said, I need you to do this for me to Marge. Then Marge tried the same thing to get him to help her save Springfield, and he's just all like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, even though he just did that. Even though he literally used that excuse to convince the family to move to Alaska with him, and then, but it gets kind of funny when he says, we're staying, we have a great life here in Alaska, and we're never going back to America again. Which is just pretty ironic, because technically Homer and the rest of the family were still in America, because Alaska is in America, so. But oh well, then. Yeah, then there's some other really foolish things he does, like he whips a bunch of sled dogs, which was still funny, and funny times, because which basically triggers, at the end of the day, it triggers the dogs to attack him, which was pretty hilarious. But he's like, why does everything I whip leave me? because you abuse them, of course. You're not supposed to whip the dogs. And plus he doesn't even get the commands right. And he basically has these slug dogs to try to get back to Springfield because he has that epiphany, but whatever. But thankfully Homer does kind of redeem himself in the end, but not before, like, he does one last stupid thing, and as soon as the people are trying to escape by climbing up their rope that's holding this bomb that's gonna blow them up, but then Homer, stupidly knocks them all back down and couldn't even, because he doesn't even use this jetpack that he finds, instead he uses this glue, but a jetpack would have been better, but then again, it's a comedy movie, it's supposed to be, then again, he's Homer, he always makes stupid decisions, and then he just further worsens Christ, as soon as he gets down and realizes he's screwed with them, because oh, I can't do anything right, then he just stupidly kicks the bomb, which basically just shortens it and basically dooms the people further. Then thankfully finally sets things right. The very epic ending where Bart and Homer are not skateboarding, right on this motorcycle all around that dome, and to throw that bomb through the hole. Bart successfully manages to, and then the bomb almost is about to fall into Springfield, but then thankfully it falls on the side of the dome and it blows up, shattering the dome in the process, which was a very awesome moment, and one of the few awesome ways it should have ended The Simpsons, really. But then, all in all, despite those bad qualities, I consider this a great Great film adaptation, probably the second best adaptation of a TV show ever. I mean, film based off a TV show ever. And if you are a fan of The Simpsons and have not seen this movie, I definitely recommend you check this out. And here's how I would definitely rank. I am going to give The Simpsons movie a 9.5 out of 10. Well, man, love that I got to finally review this after taking a break from a few horror lists I did. Very fun to review this film. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want some more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.